Good evening, everyone. This is your Sheepdog Report. U.S. authorities say the Coast Guard is now pursuing a third oil tanker linked to Venezuela's so-called Dark Fleet as part of a broader effort by the Trump administration to crack down on sanctions evading oil shipments that fund President Nicolas Maduro's government and its associated networks. According to U.S. officials, the Coast Guard is in active pursuit of a tanker operating in international waters near Venezuela. The vessel is accused of flying a false flag, obscuring its ownership, and violating U.S. sanctions. It is also subject to a U.S. judicial seizure order, though officials say boarding has not yet taken place. If intercepted, this would mark the third such operation in less than 2 weeks. Earlier in December, U.S. forces boarded and seized 2 other tankers, identified in reports as Skipper and a Panama-flagged vessel later named Centuries. Both were allegedly involved in transporting Venezuelan oil in violation of sanctions, with some cargoes also linked to Iranian exports. U.S. officials described these vessels as part of a broader dark or shadow fleet used by sanctioned states, including Venezuela, Iran, and Russia. These tankers typically operate with minimal insurance, disable tracking transponders, obscure ownership through shell companies, and rely on falsified documentation to move oil onto global markets. The issue matters because oil revenue remains a critical source of funding for Venezuela's government. The U.S. has imposed extensive oil and financial sanctions on Caracas for years, arguing that Maduro's administration is corrupt, abuses human rights, and supports criminal and drug trafficking networks. Cutting off revenue from Venezuela's state oil company has long been a central goal of U.S. policy. To keep exports flowing despite sanctions, Venezuela and its partners have increasingly relied on aging, lightly insured vessels operating through this semi-clandestine network. Some estimates suggest the Shadow Fleet now accounts for a significant share of global tanker traffic, raising concerns for maritime safety, insurance markets, and enforcement. What's new is the Trump administration's shift from financial pressure to direct maritime interdiction. President Trump has described the effort as a total and complete blockade on sanctioned tankers entering or leaving Venezuela, a move that raises the stakes for U.S.-Venezuela relations, global oil flows, and international maritime law. Recent reports identify the third tanker as Bella 1, a vessel with a history of carrying Iranian and Venezuelan crude under sanctions. According to Reuters and the BBC, the ship altered course in the Atlantic after U.S. interception efforts and has so far avoided boarding. Officials say U.S. aircraft and ships may continue to shadow the vessel, but its final destination remains unclear. U.S. officials emphasized that the earlier seizures were completed without casualties and signaled that additional interdictions are possible. Venezuela has condemned the actions as international piracy and says it plans to pursue diplomatic complaints. Media coverage varies by outlet. Fox News highlights the administration's framing of the operations as a decisive move against terrorism-linked oil smuggling. Reuters, the BBC, and major U.S. newspapers focus more on operational details and geopolitical implications, while outlets like Al Jazeera emphasize escalation risks and Global South perspectives critical of U.S. enforcement actions. For now, U.S. forces continue tracking the tanker, as Washington signals it is prepared to press its sanctions campaign beyond financial measures and onto the high seas. Thank you, fellow sheepdogs. Watch over the flock, stay vigilant, and hold fast to the profession of our faith without wavering.